We have Jehovah's holidays or holy days that are the 7 feasts of Yah, and also a counterfeit that many of you know because of the world we're living in today. And the holidays of the world. Let's see, we have Christmas, New Year's Day, Valentine's Day, Easter, Lent, Halloween, and Sunday Sabbath. And then we have the 7 holy days of Jehovah, and you can find all these in Leviticus 23, 1 through 44. We have Passover, unleavened bread, first fruits, Feast of Weeks, Pentecost, trumpets, Day of Atonement, tabernacles, and Sabbaths. So Jehovah's feasts are forever and for all, and that is found in Jeremiah 10, 1 to 2. He says, "Hear the word that Jehovah speaks to you, O house of Israel. Thus says Jehovah, learn not the way of the nations, nor be dismayed at the signs of the heavens, because the nations are dismayed at them."
7 days, or feast of Yahweh from Leviticus 23, 1 through 44, as we've said. Passover, unleavened bread, first fruits, Feast of Weeks, trumpets, Day of Atonement, tabernacles, and Sabbath. Passover. The first 3 feasts of Yahweh have been fulfilled through the death, burial, and resurrection of Messiah, Yeshua. Let's start with Passover, as it's the first feast day of Yahweh's calendar. Passover not only represents the Israelites' rescue from Egypt, it is also the day of Yeshua's sacrificial death. 1 Corinthians 5, 7 through 9 tells us, "Clean out the old yeast, that you may be a new batch. You are indeed unleavened. For Messiah, our Passover, has been sacrificed. Therefore, let us observe the feast, not with the old yeast, or with the yeast of malice and evil, but with unleavened bread of sincerity and truth." End quote. He is our Passover. This feast has certainly been fulfilled through Messiah, Yeshua, and is observed on the 14th day of Nisan on the Hebrew calendar. As an aside note, did you know that Christians commemorated the death and resurrection of Messiah on Passover until the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD? In its quest to rid Christianity of anything, quote, Jewish, changed the date to coincide with the pagan carnival Easter, which celebrated the goddess of fertility, Ishtar, which is why it's called Easter.
Okay, well, I'm sure you've all heard of Easter, sunrise services, Easter eggs, and bunnies.
Question: is Easter a feast ordained by Yahweh? Answer: no, it isn't. Easter has pagan roots and has been adopted by Christianity as celebration of the resurrection of Yeshua. Most historians, including biblical scholars, agree that Easter was originally a pagan festival. According to the New Unger's Bible Dictionary, quote, "The word Easter is of pagan origin. Istra, the goddess of spring, in whose honor sacrifices were offered about Passover time each year. By the 8th century, Anglo-Saxons had adopted the name to designate the celebration of Christ's resurrection," end quote. However, even among those who maintain that Easter has pagan roots, there is such disagreement over the pagan tradition the festival emerged from.
And in this picture over here on the right, it shows an Egyptian Easter, or Ishtar. So we know this goes all the way back to Babylon and the Tower of Babel and Semiramis. We've done quite a few studies about that.
You may ask, is Easter Christian? Isn't it biblically based, depicting the resurrection of Yeshua Messiah? Again, we find the same result. If you research Easter customs, you'll find that many of them are based on ancient fertility symbols. Have you ever stopped to question why bunnies and colorful eggs are so closely linked to the commemoration of the death and resurrection of the Savior of mankind? Perhaps it's time we did just that, ask questions. What we see is a combination of biblical themes with the pagan traditions of the ages past. This is called syncretism. Notice the definition of syncretize. Quote, to attempt to unite and harmonize, especially without critical examination or logical unity. That from Merriam-Webster Collegiate Dictionary. Many people will acknowledge that this practice of syncretism played a part in the expansion of Christianity through making it more appealing to pagans. Some think, so what if some of our customs and traditions surrounding cherished holidays have pagan, non-Christian origins? Why does it really matter if one's intention is to worship God through these various customs? Many would claim that these quaint customs only enhance the celebration and make it fun for the family. You can follow the link below for more.
So holy days versus holidays. What does the Bible say? Christianity is based on the Bible. What does the Bible say about holidays and customs? Jehovah warned his people not to seek to learn how other nations worship their pagan gods. Deuteronomy 12:31. You shall not worship Jehovah your Elohim in that way. For every abomination to Jehovah which he hates, they have done to their gods. Okay, so let's compare holy days and calendars. Here on the left is the Creator's calendar, and then we have the Gregorian calendar, which is named after the Roman Pope Gregory. And this is just a quick little review for those of you that maybe haven't studied the calendar. In 46 BC, there was a Roman Julian calendar, and it had 8 days a week, and that's the calendar that was at the time of Yeshua. Yeshua did not go by that calendar, but that was the calendar of Rome. And then 1582, Gregorian, Pope Gregory, started the Gregorian calendar. So the Gregorian calendar, maybe you don't know, is only 439 years old. What about the Father's calendar? When did it start? Well, how about in the beginning? Genesis 1:14. And Yah said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. And you will see the Father's calendar here in the heavens. The new moon day begins the month with no light on it yet, and then it waxes to become the first quarter, which is the 8th day of the month, and fully, completely white and full on the 15th, and then the last quarter, the 22nd. So there's always been a calendar in the heavens for everyone to follow. Okay, so we're going to look at some of the holy days and then also the world's holidays on their calendars. So Lamb's Day is the 10th day of the first month. And you can see that here, over here on this calendar, we have Lamb's Day is the 10th day when they were told to go purchase a lamb, acquire a lamb, and then Passover is the 14th, which is preparation day. First day of unleavened bread was Sabbath and is Sabbath, and then first fruits the 16th. We're going to go through all of these. But okay, the contrast is Palm Sunday, and that is the Sunday the week before Easter, or Ishtar. And then we have Passover, the 14th day of the month on the Father's calendar. And then we have Good Friday, which is named after Frigg and Frigga. We've done that before. These heathen goddesses is what Friday is named for. And that is your beginning of your Easter weekend.
For those that haven't caught this yet, the biblical calendar on the left is the same for every month. It is not like this is entirely different representation than the Gregorian calendar on the right. And in the rightmost column, that is the phases of the moon. The new moon is the first, and the first quarter or half moon is on the 8th. The 15th is always the full moon. So this calendar will always be the same for every month, different than the Gregorian, which just happens to throw days in as their pattern assigns them. And the moon's phases are totally separate on the Gregorian calendar.
So Sabbath is the 15th day of the first month, and that's the day when unleavened bread feast begins. But you know, on the Gregorian calendar, there is a Saturday, and it's the 7th day on the Gregorian calendar, and it's named for Saturn, the Roman god of the harvest. Okay, then on the 16th, on the Father's calendar, we have the first fruits, and this is always the day after the Sabbath on the Father's calendar is the first day of this week. But in the Passover month, we have, like I said, Passover, unleavened bread, then the beginning, first fruits, and then we have our 6 working days, and then a Sabbath. So on the counterfeit calendar of the counterfeit holidays, we have Easter Sunday, and it's a sunrise service. Everything is named after the sun and after Ishtar, all pagan origins. So that was the spring holy days, and unholy days, I'll say. And now we're going to the fall holy days and the fall feast.
Feast of Trumpets, Day of Atonement, and Feast of Tabernacles. The last three feasts of Yahweh, the Feast of Trumpets, the Feast of Atonement, and the Feast of Tabernacles, had yet to be fulfilled by Yeshua. They represent future events in Yeshua's master plan. They point to his return, his judgment, and his millennial reign, and final triumph over evil. The last feast, the Feast of Tabernacles, also known as the Feast of Booths, or Feast of Ingathering, represents the fulfillment of Yahweh's plan. The Messiah will return to tabernacle with his people. Zechariah sees the ultimate fulfillment of this feast. Zechariah 14:16 says, as we quote, "Then all the survivors from the nations that came against Jerusalem will go up year after year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to celebrate the festival of booths." That's tabernacles. See also Revelation 7:9, 17, 9 through 17, Revelation 21, verse 1, and Revelation 22 and verse 5.
Okay, so we have the same calendar again, only this is the 7th month, and we have the fall holy days. And you'll see tabernacle starts on the Sabbath, the 15th. And then there's a whole 6 days following of that week. All right, well, everybody knows the fall holiday of the world is definitely pagan, and that is Halloween on October 31. Those are the pagan fall feasts. And you've all heard of the winter holidays of the world. Of course, Christmas is named after, it was originally Saturnalia, named after Saturn. We've heard that name before in the day Saturday, haven't we? So the winter holidays of the world, we'll go into that for a little bit. Everybody, I think, knows most of this, that Christmas, December 25th, has pagan origins, and it was around way before Yeshua was ever here. Here's a little history.
The history of Christmas. Notice that these recognized historical authorities show Christmas was not observed by Christians for the first 200 or 300 years after the life, ministry, and death of Yeshua. Clearly, we see there is no biblical justification for the observance of Christmas. So where did Christmas come from? William Walsh provides some of the historical origins of Christmas in his book, The Story of Santa Claus. Quote, we remember that the Christmas festival is a gradual evolution from the times that long antedated the Christian period. It was overlaid upon heathen festivals, and many of its observances are only adaptations of pagan ceremonies. Reporter Jeffrey Scheller noted, quote, "So tarnished, in fact, was its reputation that colonial America that celebrated Christmas was banned in Puritan New England, where the noted minister Cotton Mather described Yuletime merrymaking as, quote, an affront upon the grace of God." And that from The Search of Christmas. Imagine that. Early New England settlers actually banned the celebration of Christmas. The Puritans fined anyone who celebrated Christmas. Spending just a brief amount of time in research, one can quickly see that practically every tradition associated with Christmas originated in pre-Christian pagan ritual practices. Deuteronomy 12:3-4. "And you shall destroy their altars and break their sacrificial pillars and burn their wooden images with fire. You shall cut down the carved images of their gods and destroy their names from that place. You shall not worship Yahweh your God with such things."
Jeremiah 10:3-5 tells all about it. So, okay, how about another winter holiday or unholy day? Really, the first day of the year is in the spring. New Moon Day is the first month in the spring, and that's the month of Passover. But the pagan or the Gregorian calendar or the world, let's put it that way, has New Year's Day right smack in the winter, January 1, and that's named after the god Janus that looks forward and backward, the two-faced god, looking forward and backward. So that is all pagan ritual. It is not the first day of the year on the Father's calendar.
At the time of the Exodus from Egypt, Exodus 12:1-2, "And Yahweh spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you." However, the Julian calendar takes effect for the first time on New Year's Day. In 45 BC, the New Year's Day is celebrated on January 1st for the first time in history as the Julian calendar takes effect. You can find that at history.com, This Day in History, New Year's Day.
Counterfeit holidays. So why can't we find specific instructions about the careful observance of Christmas and Easter in the pages of the Bible? Well, one would think such important celebrations would be a major part of the teaching of the New Testament church. But the Bible does not teach their observance. The Bible teaches 7 meaningful holy days, but not the major holidays celebrated today. The reality is that the Bible forbids the observance of holidays like Christmas and Easter that have their origins centuries before the birth of Messiah. Well, Joshua says, "As for me and my house, we will serve Jehovah." And that's the way I feel too, and most everybody here today on this conference call, and I hope you feel that way too. Jehovah's feasts are forever and for all. In Leviticus, Jehovah commanded Moses, "Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, concerning the feast of Jehovah, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts." He says they are his feasts, Leviticus 23:2. They're his holy days, and like Brother Pete says, which God are you serving with your holy days? Well, Jehovah leaves no doubt that these observances belong to him, not just to Jews or to any particular group of people. It doesn't matter whether you are an Israelite or a stranger. You are required to observe these days set apart by Jehovah himself. So to access more information about the feast calendar that is in the Bible, we invite you to go to our website, lunarsabbathday.com. It's a great source of information about the calendar in the heavens and the holy days of Jehovah. And I just want to thank everyone for being here today and those that are here in our fellowship group. So we'll be back next week, Yah willing.